Hey, gang. I just helped another client quantify the benefits they can expect to see from their upcoming leadership development program implementation. It's the return on investment, if you will. There have been a lot of studies that have proven time and again that developing your leaders is one of the best investments a company can make as far as return on investment expectations. Now, doing that and quantifying it for some reason still seems difficult for a lot of people. So, what I did was I took some of those studies, some of the most popular ones, and just created four simple calculators for you to use. They're below if you're on the web page. If they're not, if you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere else on some third party site, I'll put the link below so you can access it. What I want to do now is just take you through how to use each of those calculators very quickly. Okay. So if you're on the site, you'll come up and the page will look something like this. And down right here, if you want to see the statistics, all the data that has been proven, all the studies that have been taken, these are just some of the most popular ones. I shouldn't say all because there's a whole lot more out there, but these are some of the most popular ones. And the links to each of the studies, if you want to see the math behind it and the science and why it's valid data, all that good stuff, you can go to that. But for our purposes, I'm just going to dive right into the calculators. So, first, the simple return on investment is the most basic model. It uses the data behind, I believe it was this one here. Yeah, the training industry study 29% within 3 months and 415% over the course of a year or more. All you need for this is three basic inputs. First, the number of participants you plan to have in the program. We'll say 50 to start with. The cost per participant. This is the fully loaded cost. It should include things like any kind of travel expenses, room and board, airfare, the expenses for your trainer, the expenses for the program development, the full costs spread out across those individuals. So if you're doing it in year one and you're doing 50 people, you basically spread it across those 50. So we'll say $500 is the fully loaded participant cost. And then the rate of return. This is a big gap. According to the study, 29% on the low end, 415% on the high end. For our purposes, we're going to keep it very conservative and stick with 29%. How you choose your number is up to your organization and the specific scenarios you're in. Some things to consider are things like if you have never done a leadership development program there before, you probably want to boost it a little bit higher, but not too much because you're going to learn some lessons along the way. If you have an organization with really strong leadership in one area and real weak leadership in another, again, a good reason to probably boost it depending upon where that leadership is. If the weaker leadership is in a smaller portion of your organization, you probably don't want to boost it too much. You'll have to come up with that math on your own. For our purposes, again, we're going to keep it very conservative and stick with the low end, 29%. That means that you're going to see a $7,250 return on investment. Not a whole lot, but it's still a positive ROI for your money. There are, of course, all the non-fiscal benefits your organization would also see that you'd want to consider. And it's also why, in many cases, I think that 29% is probably very low. Then if you want to email the results to yourself, just type in your email there and send the email. Hit send email. Now, the second one, talent acquisition calculator. If you want to justify the ROI based on talent acquisition, this focuses on the concept that you're going to have a lot easier time identifying and hiring key talent. If your organization has been struggling with that, a strong leadership gives a better culture, gives a more positive attitude, gives more referrals, makes employees want to work there. You're going to see a quicker turnaround on hiring talent. So, to calculate that, what are your current average months to fill? On average, let's say it takes us 8 months to fill a position from the start to the finish. And if that seems like a lot, great for you. I'm proud of you. Your organization must be doing pretty well. In many organizations, the reality is it takes quite a while till you go and start. Now, let's say in the future, we plan it to be 4 months. We're going to cut it in half. Pretty aggressive, but not terribly so. Then the monthly cost of vacancy. Again, this varies substantially from organization to organization, depending upon your average salary and things of that nature. You want to take into account things like if there's lost sales, if there are increased costs for paying temporary employees, concerns of that nature. We'll say $20,000 for the position that we're looking at. What that means is your benefit you can expect to see is about $80,000, as you can see there. Okay, and again, if you want to email it to yourself, hit submit. I restarted there, so if there's a little blip, don't sweat it. Reducing turnover is similar to the acquiring talent, but takes a slightly different end, kind of looks at it from the other perspective, and that is that there is a cost to replacing employees. Studies have shown the cost to replace a voluntary, well, really any employee, is pretty high till you train them up, get them to know your organization, the culture, give the benefits. There are a lot of costs involved in getting a new employee up to speed and operating at the same capability or capacity of a previous employee. So, to calculate the benefits you could expect from your leadership development program, you would look at your current voluntary turnover. And that's how many people left last year voluntarily. Let's say 25 people left voluntarily last year. Then voluntary turnover in the future. So, you plan to reduce that number by how much? Let's say on average, we're going to reduce it down by about 10 fewer turnovers. Not too bad, fairly conservative. And then average salary for your organization varies substantially. Many organizations will use a sort of fictitious average salary, which is more like a mean average salary than a true average, because you want to take out outliers like any kind of extreme executive packages and things of that nature. So let's say 40,000. Okay. Then the turnover costs for your employee. Again, this varies by organization. Most studies will vary anywhere from 20% to 200%, or as I have here, 50 to 200%, depending upon the study. So 50%, again, is very conservative. We'll stick with the 50% number. And there you have, based on those numbers, your organization can anticipate to see a positive ROI of over $200,000 from your investment in the leadership development program. Again, email it to yourself if you like. Productivity improvement. Okay. Now, this one is probably the most complicated one. It's also often the most popular for manufacturing organizations. Any organization that produces physical goods. This is very popular because most organizations that do that have a value they can assign to each of those goods that's produced. The way we would calculate this number is you have your current rate of production. So if you have a line manager who also does line work or who's also producing your widgets, your units, how many units does that individual who you plan to have participate in the leadership program produce currently in the time frame? If you're doing a year, for example, we'll say 1,200. And then participant anticipated productivity improvement. Again, this is based on data up above. You'll see that there's studies that show, which one was it? Boost in behaviors, jump in performance. I think it's this one here, where it talks about the benefits by the participant and their subordinates. That's what we're basing this one off of. So 1,200. We're going to say for our purposes, we'll say we anticipate the individual contributor to be about 25% improvement. And then subordinates. So all the people who report to that manager or that line operator who will be participating in your leadership development, all of them together. So a pretty large number here, we'll say 20,000. We'll use the number that was sort of the default value there. And then the anticipated productivity improvement for them, I'm pretty sure that the number it had out there was 8% in that study. So we're just going to stick with the 8%. And the value of each unit, we'll say it's a little more valuable for us. We'll say $250 for each unit. Again, this might be whatever your organization places as a value for that archive, for that widget or item that they're producing. Usually it's something like it's either the margin or the actual cost for the unit. And based on those figures, you can look at it from two ways, either your benefit in number of units or the benefit in dollar values. This says we're going to have 1,900 more units produced based on the leadership development program benefits after they're applied, or a $475,000 value. So if your program comes in, your leadership development program comes in at less than $475,000, you're looking at a net ROI for the program. And of course, email yourself if you have any questions or if you want to keep your data. As for questions, if you have anything that I can help you with in quantifying the benefits or expected benefits of your program, I hope you will reach out. I'm Ben Lichtenwallner. Thank you for your time. And until next time, please keep serving.